In the base, we can then grab some rocket. This is purely for colour. You can just put basil in there if you wanted to. A little bit of little gem. It's entirely up to you. Courgettes, anything you've got left over. I've got some stuffing here, sage and onion stuffing. That can go in.
I've also got mozzarella cheese in the mix too.
Now, every couple of layers, you want to stop, grab some seasoning, salt and black pepper. And then you can put a layer of this chicken in.
Keep layering the various fillings, including those juices and onions from the roasted chicken pan, until you reach the top of the bread.
You've got some of the cranberry sauce. Now, you want to put a little bit on the top, and obviously you've got the lid, so spread it around the top of salt and pepper. Like that. Now, really, the key to this as a Christmas present is wrap it up.
But we're not talking tinsel and Christmas paper here, just good old cling film.
And we have it nice and tight like that. Stick a nice little label on it. Happy Christmas, Doreen. Lovely.
The wrap sandwich can now be stored in the fridge for up to 5 days. But I can't wait that long to open this Christmas present.
Check out this for the ultimate Christmas sandwich. Ho, 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 ho. See, how good does that look? And if you're wondering how it tastes, don't take my word for it. Take theirs. Come on, guys.
Someone's got to feed the elves.
Yum. I'm just going to go for the slice.
That's amazing. That's the way to do it.
That's so good.
It's like a leftover Christmas dinner sandwich.
It is perfect.
That's actually my idea of heaven.
This is one almighty sandwich stuffed with leftovers to be loved over. Bring this to the homes of friends and family, and you'll be more welcome than Santa.
You don't get many leftovers with you lot.
Of course, one of the best things to eat with any festive leftovers are chutneys and relishes, which always make a welcome seasonal present. And just a few miles from where I grew up in Yorkshire, Sarah Puckett produces a range of pickles and preserves inspired by her seafaring family. The exotic ingredients they brought home still take her right back to her childhood.
The fondest memory for me was what Mum used to call a fridge cleaning supper, where we would have lots of leftover meats and cheeses, and then Dad, who was the big chutney maker, would open his chutney cupboard, and out would come all these weird and wonderful pickles and chutneys and all sorts of goodies. So for me, chutneys and pickles always evoke a really nice, warm family feeling.
Sarah's father and both of her grandfathers were sailors, who always brought unusual ingredients and spices back from their travels.
My grandmothers used to make them into fantastic chutneys. They used to have their own veg gardens too, so they would use lots of British produce but then put a little bit of a twist on it by adding in all these different spices that my grandfathers had brought home.
Sarah's own chutneys, based on her granny's original recipes, went down so well with her friends, she decided to turn her hobby into a business.
I quit my job, I bought 2 pans, 2 wooden spoons, and off I went. And all my friends thought I was completely mad. But I decided that I was going to give it a go, and at least I'd tried. And here I am, 2 years further down the line. You can always spot somebody who's really passionate about making pickles and chutneys, because we've all got really bad hands, because we keep our hands in lots of salt and lots of cold water.
Ah well, bad hands make good pickles. And with her busiest time of year fast approaching, Sarah's on the lookout for new variations. Every walk in the Yorkshire countryside is a chance to search for seasonal produce in nature's very own larder.
Let's have a look.
I'm foraging for sloes. We had a good hard frost last night. As soon as you've had the good hard frost of the year, then you can go out and get the sloes, and they're fantastic for putting into port or gin, and it goes really well with my red currant and sloe port chutney, which is lovely for Christmas. But they're quite tricky to pick because quite spiky.
Armed with last year's homemade slowberry port, Sarah's now ready to make that seasonal chutney.
This one is designed, it's nice and sharp, so it goes really well with your festive goose. But it's also fantastic for sticking with fatty meats like duck or lamb. This one we're going to pop on the table for Boxing Day.
Most commercial chutneys take months to ferment and mature. But as Sarah uses a mild cider vinegar rather than the more acidic malt version, hers can be eaten within 24 hours. And alongside her chutneys, she also produces these. But be careful, her family recipe for pickled onions does come with a health warning.
So if you like your pickled onions hot, you snap your chilli. And if you like your pickled onions to have just a little bit of heat, then you keep your chilli whole. Or if you're like Dad, then you take a whole heap of chilies, you snap them all, and then you might put in 1 or 2 pickled onions. After Boxing Day, we tend not to get an awful lot of visitors in our house, but I've no idea why.
I think I can guess. Anyway, one final question. What does Sarah do with all the fresh veg that doesn't end up in a pickle?
And the best thing of all is, when you've finished your Christmas party, you then take your garland to pieces and you've got a cracking soup, which will keep you going all the way through January.
Friends and family have gathered for a festive supper, and Sarah's being Santa, laying the table with a feast of different chutneys, because everyone has their own favourite bit on the side.
Carrot and cardamom is a personal favourite of mine, and it goes with ham, which is, you tend to have a cold ham at Christmas Day, and it's very good with cheese and things like that.
Pear and apricot, my absolute favourite. Delicious with sheep's cheese. Rob's is the chilli jam.
I love to have it with burgers, steak. It's really nice. Love it.
I think this is so lovely that when you've worked really hard and you're really passionate about using lots of fresh and local or British produce, there's no better symbol of love and friendship than all your friends and family all sat round at Christmas time, all really enjoying a really good meal with some really good quality pickles.
A jar of pickle or chutney is a great foodie present to give at this time of the year. But what if you want individual edible treats to satisfy a Christmas crowd? Thankfully, I always have these to hand. They're even gift wrapped.
Now, there are many great food gifts you can give people at Christmas time, but this has to be the ultimate, panettone, and it's really simple to make. So the first thing we're going to do is take a selection of dried fruit, and for that you can use whatever you want, really. I've got some candied peel, which is the usual sort of thing in panettone, because you get that nice little sharpness with the zest from the peel.
I'm also adding 100 grams each of golden sultanas and cranberries and a splash of rum.
We want not too much, about 2 tablespoons of rum. You're not soaking it in the alcohol, it's just a light coating of the rum. Now we can leave that to one side. Meanwhile, we can get on with making our most important part of this, is the batter, or the dough.
To 425 grams of strong flour, add 60 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and 18 grams of fresh yeast. I'm mixing it with a little bit of water first. And then add 160 mils of water, 2 eggs, and mix to combine.
So as this dough starts to come together, always in a rich yeast dough, then you add the butter. And for this, I need about 75 grams.